So, we get the talk between Libelia and Rebecca, which gives us this very sweet emotional moment between the two of them. The feels certainly started to surface. Hello everyone and welcome! This is Anime Awakening, and today we're here to talk about chapter 178 of the Ethan Zero manga series. A very emotional heavy chapter that goes into depth on Libelia's backstory. Plus, we also got Shiki's answer to Holy's offer. So then, let's start off by talking about Shiki's answer. Then, we'll turn into the segment with Rebecca and Libelia, as I have a really bad feeling as to the future events that might occur based around the dialogue spoken between the two female characters here. So, Shiki agreed to join Holy on the condition that she remains aboard the Ethan Zero during the duration of their partnership. This is the classic case of keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Our crew do not trust her, and this makes complete sense. Plus it gives us the reason as to why they want to watch over her, so she doesn't try to pull anything sneaky. With her on board the Ethan Zero 24/7, it does make it harder for Holy to move her chess pieces around the board. I really did love the fact though that during this chapter, Holy also deduces the fact that the Ethan Zero doesn't trust her and they want to keep an eye on her. That's why Shiki proposed this condition for them to join forces. Holy doing this allows it to basically display her character as being very smart and sharp, which I quite like. My question is, however, having her aboard the ship, is that really a good thing? After all, I'm sure Hermit would do everything she can to hide information from Holy. But Holy has Weiss and possibly Captain Connors wrapped around her little finger. They are of course gaga for her, just based on the way that they reacted when they saw her in her swimsuit. And of course we know that Holy doesn't really wear many clothes in the chapters that we've seen her in. So it's possible that she could use Weiss or Captain Connors to leak the ship's secrets and any information she wishes to find out. Not to mention the bath aboard the ship. It was said that the bath itself, if you bathe in it, it helps develop your ether gear. And although Holy should have mastery over her own powers, what if that bath that she would have to use to wash herself, what if it boosts her abilities? That's going to cause an issue for our crew later on in the long run. Shiki's judgment might sound right, however I am worried that the crew might be underestimating this bad girl. And speaking of bad girls, let's move along and talk about Libelia, as this was one of my favourite things from the series given to us after the time skip occurred. So since the time skip, this chapter is one of my favourites that we've been presented with so far. So after learning how Libelia has this uncurable illness, which no doctor throughout the cosmos could find a cure, that was sad in of its own. But then we learn of her inspirations for wanting to become a beekeeper. This just continues to add more depth and lore to the character, which is something that I absolutely enjoyed a lot. Libelia isn't a character that I really had much fondness for or that much desire to see on screen, but this chapter actually makes my views of the character change ever so slightly. She was inspired by Rebecca's early cat video, a very bad video that got single-digit views, yet it stole Libelia's heart and made her want to become a beekeeper, which that act alone is actually very powerful. Because you got Libelia, who's a child with an incurable illness, who's in hospital, not knowing if she's going to live or die, and yet she watches Rebecca's channel, and it gives her hope. It inspires her to become something great, to make use of the hand she has dealt with in life, and this is absolutely magical. However, all of that bullying and torment Libelia targeted towards Rebecca was born out of hatred and disappointment. because Rebecca didn't live up to the fantasy that Libelia created in her own mind. Thus, those feelings got mixed and released in the worst way possible. We see a side to Libelia's character within this chapter that showcases vulnerability, as she opens up and expresses her feelings, something that she clearly isn't used to doing or very good at. Now, of course, even though we got this emotional, vulnerable sort of segment of the chapter, it doesn't excuse or atone her for her bad and poor behaviour that she did in the early stages of this series. Going back to that illness now, because this is where I foresee a big death coming for Libelia's character. Sister very well could cure Libelia, but why would Sister do this? To Sister, she's a mean bully who tormented Rebecca countless times. Libelia does not deserve to be cured. Unless Libelia could prove that she has indeed changed. And thus this would lead to Libelia joining the crew temporarily. Now I do obviously think that although Sister might refuse at the start, Sister isn't heartless. She will offer up a chance for redemption, and that's why I say Libelia would have to prove that she has changed. Again, thus leading to the stipulation of Libelia joining the crew ahead of their big massive battle to come. So we fast forward to that massive battle, and Libelia, who has already made peace with the fact that she is dying soon, she will sacrifice herself for Rebecca as a way of atoning for years of mistreatment towards her, giving us the catalyst for another universal shift. We'll shift away from Universe 3 into Universe 4 after Rebecca sees Libelia being sacrificed. Similarly to how we saw Shiki get killed, and then a few sort of chapters later, we shifted into a different universe. However, this next universe could be a particular place where Libelia still has that illness, but never watched Rebecca's video. So the Beekeeper life never actually happened, and thus no memories of the bullying in Libelia's mind occur. So in a weird way, Sister would be saving a stranger from an incurable illness. We would have Rebecca remember what the real Libelia did in terms of sacrificing herself in Universe 3. Plus, we have Libelia's Beekeeper recording, because that fight within this chapter was recorded. This would be enough evidence to at least convince Sister to help out this stranger that is now the new Libelia of Universe 4. That's just a working theory that I have in my mind that could actually happen. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen, but I'm looking forward to see how it's actually going to play out. The line about Libelia's views stagnating, making her want to quit as a result, was kind of understandable. Because when you put time, effort, and then into a video or some form of content, and you're hoping that some people will see it and enjoy it, but then hardly anyone does, it is kind of deflating. So I do understand it from that point, but quitting is never the answer. There is always a way to move forward, and that's what Rebecca was trying to explain and get through to Libelia within this chapter as well. That punch that Libelia did to Rebecca reminded me of that scumbag that tormented Hermit and those twins. It just kind of carried the same sort of vibe with the art style. I got two pictures up on the screen here to show you an example of what I mean. Overall, this chapter was very enjoyable, and I love the display of emotion and the lore behind the characters that was introduced. It helped create a wonderful explanation that not only explained the actions of Libelia, but also what drove her to become a beekeeper, and that's something I did not expect, but I was pleasantly surprised at getting. Hopefully, through the words and tears that were shed within this chapter, a friendship can begin to blossom between Rebecca and Libelia as we move forward. The cover image from this chapter was super amazing. It really has a great vibe and energy to it. And the few colour panels that we got at the start of the chapter, it felt a little bit weird, but it was still quite cool to see nevertheless. So those were my thoughts on this chapter. What did you think of this chapter? In the comment section down below, let me know. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have, like, comment, subscribe, share, all of that good stuff. And of course, I'll be seeing you next time. Have a great day. Alligator, madane. Goodbye.